Preparing marketing flyer. This is so important for folks to do. When you have a property or a contract that you're looking to sell, you need to get it out there. You need to be loud. That's what marketing is. You need to let people know. Before we get into like what's on the flyer, a couple of things is places that you'll place this. You'll post this on your website. Don't worry if you do not have one at this point. There are some great sites out there. Actually, there's really one that's just king of the industry, and that's Carrot. They do a great job of having some ready-made tools inside that help you really take advantage of SEO, take advantage of what actually makes a website work. You can go to WordPress and get websites done also, but there are some quality. We're not in the tech industry. We're not in this space where we're that's not the role we play. So if you do get a WordPress site, you may have to really invest in finding someone who can help you optimize it so that the speed, it's not just looking pretty. Matter of fact, looking pretty is one of the last factors that a website needs when it comes to being functional, particularly on a website that's geared towards buyers. So if you don't have a website, do not worry. There are actual free sites as well. Google is an awesome site. Google Business, where they give the free website. Matter of fact, there are a lot of folks indicating that Google, because it's their own brand and product, are going to push it even more, which makes sense. So Google Business is a free place and a free website you can put up. And it's really important to have if you don't decide to use something like Carrot. You'll also need to be able to send this flyer in an email, and there's some amazing email applications out there. Monday, MailChimp comes to mind, but whichever one you do use, a lot of them you can use even for free up to a certain point. Hopefully you'll start paying for it, because that means you have a larger buyers list, and because usually the cost is dependent on how many people you're sending it to. And it's great to have a larger buyers list because you want as many eyes on this property or on this contract as possible. So those are two places: the website and the apps. The website is going to allow for anytime you want to send a link or someone needs to take a look at it, you have it on the landing spot, and the email app is going to allow you to push it out. Some other places that this can go is you can, especially if you have a good CRM, you can hyperlink, set up a link from your website and text blast your buyers as well. That's something very popular that is helpful too. So there's a lot of ways you can get the actual flyer out to folks. But let's talk about some pertinent information on the actual flyer about the property. Actually, two things that I need to put here immediately. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and put those there, are the purchase price and the actual address or title. So a couple of things about the address. I usually block out the last, I block it out to the 100s. So if it's 2819 Main Street, I go 28XX Main Street. And that's because even though a lot of people are amazing in this space, there are some folks who sometimes try to go around your deals, and we just want to protect that. And sometimes you may have a tenant in there or maybe even a buyer in there, and you just don't want people going knocking all over the place. So I block it out. I know some wholesalers who actually only include the zip code, but it's really up to you. But one word of note though, as your buyers do come in and they actually, you know who they are and you know who you're sending your address to, they will need the address so they can do their due diligence. So you're not hiding the address from everyone. You're just making sure you know who you actually gave your address to. Next thing is the purchase price of the contract. And you might even want to put suggested purchase price. Some people even put suggested bid, because hopefully this will be, it'll get higher than the price that you're offering, but that you're asking for, I should say. But you definitely need to include what the suggested purchase price is. And actually, there are some people who don't even put a suggested purchase price. They ask people to give their price, but I like to go with the suggested purchase price. I also sometimes put a take now price, and that's usually about $10,000 more. Like, hey, do you want to argue? You don't want to debate? You don't want to anything? You purchase this right now, take it now, it's yours. The world in the palm of your hands. Of course, things like beds, baths, any updates or features that need to be shown or told, like it has a pool or things of that nature. Now the rehab level and level of rehab is important as there as well, and where the rehab is. So like, you need to update the kitchen, or need to update a roof, or had a recent roof, or it's a mid. It really, there's 3 rehabs. There's full rehab, full gut, full rehab, and your contractors and buyers will know what that means. There's mid-size rehab, and then there's cosmetics. And depending on the market you're in, that will indicate to the buyers how much they can expect to pay in rehab. But I don't put down how much it's going to cost for the rehab. I just put down those 3 levels. And the more you're in properties, the more you're looking at properties, and the more you understand your market, the easier that will be for you to determine and dictate. That's why it's so important to get out to as many properties as early as possible, or someone on your team needs to. But the rehab level can really depend on who the actual buyer is. So I just, or the cost of the rehab. So I don't put the cost of the rehab there. I do try to put highest and best use possible, especially when it's like land that I have. You could build 2 condos on here. It has its permits, things of that nature, or this would be a great rental, cash flow it, possible at this and that. So thinking about your marketing and how you attract people is very important to list that, with those strong words and that really help connect people rationally and emotionally to the opportunity. Recent comparable sales. Now that's something I love to put. I always put it within, if it's a dense population, 0.25 miles. If it's a more rural or a suburban population, then half a mile. But when I was in, for instance, Baltimore, I always show the most recent comparable. That means same type of bed, bath, square footage, just like we went over during the acquisition stage. And I would show it within 0.25 miles. Now I go to Baltimore County, I would stretch it out to 0.5 miles, and just really trying to stay in the radius of the neighborhood. And that's very helpful, because then someone can determine what they think the property is valued for. As you'll see, I don't put down what I think the property is valued at, or even the after repair value, because that could be very subjective. I'm going to put down the access and contact information. So that's basically your information. How do they get access to it? Will they need to schedule with you? Is there, which we'll have to go through you, so that you may put lock boxes up there, but I would definitely recommend that you, and we'll talk about that during the setting appointments, but that you try to get as many eyes on the property at the same time, so they can see that people are looking at this property. You're going to talk about the vacancy. Is it occupied or is it vacant? You'll include the earnest money deposit and other policies, and we'll go over that as well, and the joint venture policy. And those other policies may be things that you come up with as you continue to do the business. You may find, okay, I need to make sure this is here because this is a frequently asked question or a challenge or issue that continues to come, and I want to address that right now. Now, the after repair value. What about the after repair value? The after repair value almost always depends on the buyer. Some folks have access to contractors. Some folks have access to materials. Some people have experience that changes the price. So I only include recent sales, because that's something that cannot be debated. Recent sales, and then they can, because I'm comparing apples to apples, then they can make their own judgment based on that. Here's what the marketing looks like a little bit. It's a property we just assigned recently. So I have the address blocked out, zip code, and I probably get even stronger at my marketing and copyright, and that's something I shouldn't take lightly. So that's something I try to improve each time, or I need to really find somebody who's really good at it, so that it's not how but who, right? And so, in this page, I had a link to the photo gallery. What's great about MailChimp and other mail tools is that they actually have templates where you could insert pictures in there as well. So just like Carrot or a website you use. And so I'll repeat some of the information and give some relevant information here: price, square footage, what it needs, good shape, needs updating. If like schools is located next to, or cool events or places or experiences that's nearby, that's important to put there as well. Recent comparable sales. All right, so I put the recent comparable sales, and yeah, you want to make sure that these are actual strong, good sales within the last 6 months. We discussed that prior in our acquisitions, but you do want, just like when you're checking on the value, you want to share as well. Your offer price or process. Are they going to text you to set up for inspection, or do you have the time period there? Purchase price, We talk about submit after the inspection period. Usually we have one inspection period, sometimes two. We ask for folks to submit their best offer in 24 hours. For 5,000, non-refundable with clear title. Only reason they will get their money back if the title for some reason doesn't come back clear, because you've already dropped this property off at the closing attorney and they're already processing. So you may even know I have a clear title by now, by this point, because sometimes it can happen super fast within a day to even within, sooner than that, especially if there's no issues. But you see that you're putting down quite often when you are purchasing it from the seller, $10, $100. That's because this is what you do. You are getting a lot of contracts each month so that you can assign them and provide opportunities to folks. So you putting out a large amount of money may not be as feasible as a buyer who's buying one property every 2 months or one property a month. And so you want to make sure that they are serious. So $5,000 is very important. It doesn't matter how much the property is worth. I would not go lower than 3,000, but if it's like, super low under the 50,000, 40,000, 30,000, maybe I would do a 3,000 EMD. But even on some of these low points, I usually do ask for a 5,000 because I want to make sure they're serious. And there are some buyers who would, walk away from $1,000 and just lock things up just so they can control them, and they just charge it to the game price of doing business, which is not good business. So that's why we want to make sure that that they secure that 5,000. And in the assignment contract, you have the terms of how soon it needs to come in. Usually, it's within one business day that that they have to submit their 5,000 for my team. Of course, you put here that the buyer is going to pay all the closing costs. If you're signing an LLC, which is one thing you can do for certain type of properties that require, a little finessing. It's not really creative financing, but it's simply you can buy a property. So in other words, I could actually put a property on the contract and an LLC I just formed, or LLC, and then I can sell my interest to the LLC to someone. Now they own the LLC, which means they own whatever the LLC owns, which is the property or the contract. Let them know that the title will be transferred, cleared at closing, and that there's no contingencies, bro. If they need to see the property, that's awesome, but they don't need to say there's no, hey, let me hold it and then get the contract and then wait 2 days so I can get this survey back, or let me get into property, or things of that nature. No contingencies. And again, all properties are sold with clear title and current taxes updated. And if you have an agent, if this is an agent, you need to add your fee if you're bringing a buyer. So if an agent comes to you and they see 85, your cut of the assignment should not go to the agent. There's certain times that you may need to change and be flexible on that, but for the most part, agents should know that they need to add their fee. And we'll have a whole section on JVing, but you need to make sure that you put no JV or marketing of property without the express consent of the company that you're working with. And again, a little bit loud and proud how they can find you to set up the inspection or what the access is. Do not put the lockbox information up here, even if you have it. This right here, really, I copied and pasted from, I probably should vet it with an attorney, but it's just something that just claims that I'm not, giving legal advice. I'm not an appraiser. Everyone needs to do their own due diligence, and that I'm selling the contract and all. And this lays them that this is an assignment. So you can really, I would get it vetted, do as I say, not as I do. And but I really just copy and paste it from a investor that I trust in this area, and it worked for me. All right.